Hello friends and welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am your host Tom Downey. Some breaking news as we kick off today's show. Robert Quinn, he has been suspended by the NFL, as you can kind of see on your screen there. Quinn has been suspended by the NFL. It's a 2-game suspension for Robert Quinn. He violated the NFL's PED policy. That is a 2-game suspension, so it looks like there was some type of... It's only an instant 4-game suspension, so the fact that it's 2 games instead of 4, or whatever it normally is, it's 4, makes me think there was type of extenuating circumstance here. Either way, Quinn suspended 2 games by the NFL. This comes like 2 days later after Robert Quinn fractured his hand and it was announced he needed surgery. So now the Dallas Cowboys are not going to have Robert Quinn for the first 2 games of the year because it can't be a Cowboys offseason without a notable player being suspended. It's just not how things work. So now we adjust, and this is breaking news here, literally right as we came on air, so I guess that's noteworthy timing. Not great for the Cowboys here. DeMarcus Lawrence, he's banged up right now. Robert Quinn, now hurt and suspended. So I will update that depth chart note for you guys too, because you can tack on a 2-game suspension as well here for Quinn. Not great news for the Dallas Cowboys, and also rather unexpected news for the Dallas Cowboys, at least in terms of the national fan base there. So Quinn suspended, Tyrone Crawford's banged up. There's always a defensive lineman too who gets suspended. It always feels like that. Always feels like that's the case. So again, the breaking news here, we'll stay on this for a little bit longer. Robert Quinn suspended 2 games by the NFL for violating the NFL's performance-enhancing drug policy. Been a rough couple of days here for Quinn. There was the fracturing of his hand, he needs surgery, and now the player the Cowboys just traded for has also been suspended for 2 games. So not a great start to the day for the Dallas Cowboys. In terms of what this means, if there is a bright side, it's that the Cowboys do have depth at defensive end. They do have the ability to get by. DeMarcus Lawrence, he should be good to go for Week 1. Tyrone Crawford should also be back in time for Week 1, although to be fair, Crawford also facing his own potential suspension because of his role at the bar fight down in Florida. Dorance Armstrong, Kerry Hyder, Taco Charlton, Joe Jackson, Jalen Jelks are all fighting for a roster spot. The fact that you're not going to have Quinn for the first 2 weeks of the year actually probably helps them because he's not going to count against the team's 53-man roster. That allows the Cowboys to go deep at defensive end and then figure it out after the first 2 weeks. So Hyder has been getting reps across the line, same with Dorance Armstrong, same with Taco Charlton. We'll see about Randy Gregory. At this point, we'll see what happens at that point. I don't know if you can even bank on him, frankly, being there in Week 1, even if he does apply in the near future for reinstatement. So what's your guys' one-word reaction here to Robert Quinn's suspension? Mine was wow. Well, actually, it was a string of expletives because it happened right as we were about to start the show. But the PC version was wow because I didn't anticipate Robert Quinn getting suspended. This is not great news for the Dallas Cowboys. On the bright side, again, there is depth at defensive end, and the Cowboys' opening season schedule isn't that bad. It's a relatively easy start. I think they'll end up being okay. I see some ridiculous whoa, OMG. Rob says relax. Brian dropped the F-bomb in there. Lots of relax, concern, stupid, OMG. I think those are all, even though OMG is technically not a word or one word, I think the point it remains the same there. Redundant, which is, I guess that kind of works there. Either way, Robert Quinn suspended for 2 games by the NFL for the PED policy. That's your breaking news right now on the Dallas Cowboys Report. We'll go back now to the rest of the planned stuff. Namely, some roster moves have been made by the Dallas Cowboys. Lance Lenoir, he was waived/injured just like offensive lineman Derek Puny was. Lenoir, meanwhile, along with Puny, will revert to IR once and if they clear waivers. Frankly, I think they're both going to. Lenoir, by the way, also needs surgery on his patellar tendon. So not great for Lenoir, who had fallen behind the pecking order at wide receiver. I don't think he was going to make the roster, but this does allow him to stick around for, in theory, 1 more year, and then they'll figure it out after that. Now, in terms of who the Cowboys brought in to replace them, 2 players. Number 1, tight end Marcus Lewis, that helps replace the Rico Gathers hole at tight end. They also brought in some offensive linemen, namely Juwan Bushell-Beatty out of Michigan. They did also bring in Lucas McNeil on Wednesday. The Cowboys needed offensive line depth, not for the actual regular season, but in the preseason, you kind of want to go like 15 deep, and like nobody can in the NFL because there's a dearth of good offensive line play. And that's why you see teams going, okay, let's find extra guys there. And the injuries have only increased today for the Dallas Cowboys. Brandon Knight, the rookie undrafted free agent out of Indiana, he was carted off during today's practice. Looked like a foot/ankle injury. His shoe was off. I don't have any further details yet on that. Probably won't for at least a couple of hours. But that's yet another asterisk equals injury on that Cowboys offensive line. Lucas McNeil was also signed on Wednesday out of Louisville. All about just trying to get through the preseason. Beatty and McNeil and these other guys, maybe they can make the practice squad if they impress, but it'd be a huge surprise if they ended up making the active 53-man roster. Meanwhile, at receiver, with where things are right now, it's thinned out a little bit, huh? Noah Brown's still on the PUP list. Cooper's dealing with that minor bruised heel, but they're not going to rush him back at any time in the near future. Lance Lenore is gone. All of a sudden, the wide receiver depth a little bit thinner in terms of figuring out who actually makes this team. Your top five likely Cooper, Gallup, Cobb, Austin, Brown. One spot or so between those 6 guys battling for it. Or 5 guys. Math. Easy there. All right, speaking of math, get us to 30K here on the Cowboys Report so we can have a preseason Week 1 watch party. We're not that far away. Little over 200, which I think we can do. But if you haven't told your friends about the Cowboys Report, now's the time. And we'll have fun, by the way. During the preseason watch party, we'll engage, we'll chat, we'll do like some non-full-fledged mailbags. We'll ask a bunch of questions, talk about the game. It's a good time. So make sure you're subscribed and, have notifications turned on. That way you know when it starts. But again, get us to 30K here on the Cowboys Report. Let's move then to Zeke, and I'm sorry I have no real update for you guys. There's nothing really going on with Elliott right now. Stephen Jones says that he doesn't speak that often with Elliott's camp and says that's standard for contract talks, which is always weird to me because why wouldn't you just sit down and hammer it out? I don't know, but that's how contracts work, I guess, in the NFL. So the holdout continues to drag on, and the question remains, okay, well, who will blink first? Will the Cowboys up their offer? Will Zeke's team come back with, okay, we'll do this, it's a little bit less than what we wanted? I don't know. Here was Stephen Jones' quote, by the way. He was asked, do you have talks often with Zeke and Zeke's camp? And he says, very rarely. There's this perception out there about negotiations that these are ongoing talks that go on hours at a time. That's just not the case. You kind of set the boundaries of where you think it should be. You sit there and you think about it, and then you find a way to bridge the gap, which I think is kind of weird to me. Like, Zeke's not there. I know that the Cowboys don't want to give up their leverage and force another offer and end up upping it without the Zeke's camp responding, but it's all very weird to me. So what is your guys' one-word reaction to Zeke still holding out? Let me know in the comment section. One word for it. I'll give some shout-outs here as well. One-word reaction to Zeke still not being in camp for the Dallas Cowboys. Someone says trade. Moulton says really. Can't read that one, Javier. Can't read that one, Destroyed. Also, it's 2 words. Greedy, annoyed, panic, smart, buy, expected, why, pay, all these coming in here. Stubborn and disappointed. I kind of like those 2 as I cheat and, mention that there are several words I would pick here. Move on now to Dorance Armstrong. Some on-the-field training camp updates. And after Dorance here, we will head back to the note on Robert Quinn. Now, Armstrong has fared well at training camp so far. He's been an impressive player, and that's very good news for the Cowboys' defensive end depth chart. And the injuries and, of course, the Quinn suspension mean he's got himself an opportunity to make the team. Remember, Dorance Armstrong, Kerry Hyder, Joe Jackson, and Taco Charlton are all fighting for roster spots right now. You can now tack on DeMarcus Lawrence is banged up, not in camp right now. Crawford has missed time. Quinn is out right now with a fractured wrist. And as we'll get to hear more in depth in a second, he just got suspended. So all of a sudden, even just for Week 1 of the regular season, you could have a scenario where you need somebody starting across from DeMarcus Lawrence. This bodes well for Dorance Armstrong, well for Kerry Hyder, and also Taco Charlton. This gives him a better opportunity. So here's my question for you. Who will have more sacks this year? Type C for Taco Charlton and A for Dorance Armstrong. Let me know in the comments section. I will also add the caveat, this is if only for the Cowboys. So, like, if there's a trade or something, more on that coming up, by the way, it will not count. It will only be for the Cowboys. So, C or A, let me know in the comment section. I see quite a few A's coming in, by the way, but the C's are starting to make back up. Also, someone put in a B, and I don't know who that is. Who's the B here? Doesn't make sense to me. Again, folks, the breaking news, if you're just now tuning in here on the Dallas Cowboys report, Robert Quinn has been suspended 2 games by the NFL. I will make note that Robert Quinn's agent did just release a statement saying that Quinn tested positive for something. Of course, that's not really the news part there, but for something that he takes because he suffers from seizures. So, you know, NFL players don't ever take PEDs on purpose. That's not a thing. So, Quinn's agent says he tested positive for something he takes because he suffers from seizures, which, okay, but like if it's a prescription, the NFL knows about it and they can clear it. Look, there's always an excuse, right? 2 games does make, I think, an indication that there is some type of like lenience here from the NFL, but still, that one's pretty weird for me. Either way, Quinn out for the first 2 games of the NFL regular season. So what is your one-word reaction to Quinn's suspension? Let me know in the comments section. We'll give some shout-outs here as well. Again, I don't know what the actual PED was. I doubt we'll distinctly find out what that is there. Josh says, what? Someone uses the poop emoji there. I like that one, Sean, there. Again, one-word reaction here. Antonio says stop. I assume that means stop doing that there. All right, let's see. Silly. There's some swear words in there. Wow. Damn is a very popular one. I think that all kind of makes some sense. Also, another note here, thank you to my wonderful production team looking at you there, Jimmy. The drug used to be called so it wasn't actually a PED. It was a masking agent. And masking agents are not allowed by the NFL because of what they sound like. If you use a masking agent, you're trying to hide a PED. So, in most cases. So, thank you there, Jimmy, for that update. He didn't test positive for an actual PED. It was a masking agent to help hide, in theory, the use of a performance-enhancing drug. So that's your update there on Robert Quinn, suspended 2 games by the NFL. He's not going to play to start the season for the Dallas Cowboys. Today's show is brought to you by MyBookie. Head over to chatsports.com/Cowboys and use promo code GOCowboys for a 100% deposit bonus. You put down $50, they're going to give you $50 for free. Put down $100, they'll match it. Oh, by the way, even if the Cowboys don't have Quinn and or Crawford, still bet on them to beat the Giants. They're not very good. Chatsports.com/Cowboys, promo code GOCowboys. All right, super chat from my good friend Jordan Thomas, a longtime watcher here. He says, who are the Cowboys trading to reach 53? Well, great question, Jordan. We actually already had that coming up on today's show. Namely, we're looking at the offensive line and the defensive line. The report from Clarence Hill was that Dallas wants to trade a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman. Now, the Cowboys felt that they have great depth at both spots. Now, that might have changed today because Robert Quinn just got suspended. And they also want to shore up an unnamed position, I would guess secondary, or if Zeke's not there by week 1, running back. I think safety might make the most sense there of the options, or you go weird and go get a kicker or something crazy. Now, looking at both these spots, offensive line is thin, but only for right now. In reality, McGovern and Zach Martin, I think they'll be good to go for week 1. And then all of a sudden, you go 10 deep, and 11 if you want to include Adam Redmond. So for the Cowboys, it does make sense to potentially explore an offensive lineman trade. Now, defensive linemen, well, it's a little bit dicier now, where DeMarcus Lawrence and Crawford should be good to go for week 1. Robert Quinn will now no longer count against the 53-man roster to open the season, and he's got extra time to rest up his injured wrist. The Cowboys like Dorance Armstrong, they like Hyder, they still have hope for Taco Charlton, Joe Jackson, Jalen Jelks there too, and if Gregory comes back, all of a sudden, that's 9 dudes who you either drafted or signed. And then on the defensive tackle spot too, Crawford I think is safe in light of the the Quinn suspension. Antoine Woods, Malik Collins, those guys aren't going anywhere. They drafted Tristan Hill early. I like Daniel Wise a lot. I think the team does as well. So even with the Quinn suspension, it's maybe a little bit less likely now. I think defensive line does make sense for a trade for the Cowboys if they're trying to find some help either at the secondary or even at running back if Zeke's still not there. But let me know in the comment section, what position should Dallas trade for? I'm just going to embrace the name. Don't make fun of me. D's Nuts says Collins and a 6th for Tevin Coleman, or Taco and a 6th for Coleman, but the Niners don't do that. McKinnon has already hurt again for them, which is just classic Jerick McKinnon. I don't think you're going to see them trading getting a late round pick and a average defensive lineman for Tevin Coleman. That's not really their MO there. I see some fullback. Safety, though, seems to be the most popular pick, which isn't much of a surprise. All right, let's talk about Brett Maher because we need to have this discussion. He has struggled too much at camp, has missed key kicks in red zone and 2-minute drill scenarios, and as of today, he is 30 of 36 in camp from all different distances, 83.3 repeating percent. Guess what Brett Maher is? He's an 80 to 85% guy. That's what he was at college. That's what he was in the CFL. That's what he was in the NFL last year. He was better than Dan Bailey. Here's the thing, though. He's not good enough. Cowboys have to go find, at minimum, somebody to push him that's not named Casey Redford. He hasn't done that well either. There are some free agent kickers out there. Matt Bryant is one of them. He is willing to come play for the Dallas Cowboys. Cody Parkey, who I would rather have Matt Bryant. You guys know Mike Nugent. You guys know Matt McCrane if you're a Kansas State fan, or Matthew McCune, or however it was said recently on air. And then Nick Rose, who worked out with the AAF recently. Here's the biggest problem when it comes down to the Cowboys and kickers scenario. Matt Bryant is a better pure kicker, but I do worry about him on kickoffs because of his age and his leg there. I would still go Matt Bryant, but it gets a little awkward when it comes down to finding someone that can also handle kickoffs. And the reality is, there aren't very many good kickers out there. That's a problem there for the Dallas Cowboys. So with that in mind, who do you want as the Cowboys kicker? Let me know in the comments section. I pushed for Matt Bryant. I focus and value actual field goals a lot more than I do the kickoff coverage. Chris Jones did, I guess, if he absolutely has to. So I vote Matt Bryant there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. All right, someone asked earlier about Taryn Christion. We have an update for you guys. Namely, gentlemen and ladies, I think we have our JAMEILL Showers 2.0. Christion, who is a quarterback by trade, per Todd Archer, has been working with the running backs, wide receivers, and special teams in training camp. That makes him a Showers/Taysom Hill type. Here's the thing, though. I actually don't mind it. I don't think Christian's good enough to be a pure backup quarterback. But if a really good athlete like Christian is, can help you on special teams and or at receiver, running back in a Taysom Hill type, now that is worth exploring. I think he's still a long shot to make the roster, but you better believe I'm going to be watching him very closely in the preseason to see how he looks. Because if he's getting action on special teams, he just might make the team after all. All right, next up, Tony Pollard. Yes, it is now okay to go ahead and get excited about him and about him making an impact on the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott, along with both Joneses, whatever it is, are hyping up Tony Pollard. He does offer you the Lance Dunbar type ability that the Cowboys haven't had since, Lance Dunbar was there. My biggest question mark / concern, I guess, is if Kellen Moore can use him in a creative way and get the ball in space in the way that Linehan did not use Tavon Austin. Here was the quote, by the way, from Dak Prescott. He's one of the most exciting players to me of this training camp. The things he's been able to do, running the ball, catching the ball out of the backfield, he's making plays. That's good news there for the Cowboys and for Tony Pollard. Now, I see what associate producer Brett is doing here. You don't have to use drink the Kool-Aid quite yet. You don't have to drink it there quite yet. But you can enjoy it a little bit. Just take a little sample of it. Not the full-on, giant bottle. Just like a little bit of the Kool-Aid. And just take a little sip and say, you know what? I'm going to be optimistic here. That's okay to do. Hey Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.